In the headlines, former President Olusegun Obasanjo and APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu meet behind closed doors. Appeal court upholds retrial order of Kano singer accused of blasphemy. Trial of teacher accused of raping 13 people in Niger State transferred to New Busa. And on the foreign scene, multiple bomb explosions and arson attacks rock southern Thailand. Hello and welcome to Trust TV's news update. I am Nten Ekpang. And on the news in full, the All Progressives Congress, the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Wednesday visited former President Olusegun Obasanjo as part of consultations for his presidential bid. He was received by Governor Dapo Abiodun, his deputy Neomot Salako Oyedele, and former governors Olusegun Oshoba, Gbenga Daniel, and other APC bigwigs who were already on ground before his arrival. The former Lagos governor immediately went straight into a closed-door meeting with Obasanjo at the penthouse residence within the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library. The former Lagos governor's planned visit, according to insider sources, is to rally Obasanjo's support for his presidential bid. Obasanjo, who had vowed not to endorse any candidate in a hurry, has since kept his choice in the next election close to his chest. The Borno State Police Command has started training of its personnel ahead of the 2023 elections. The training tagged election security management, providing a safe and secure environment for credible election in Nigeria, acquainted the security agents on the new electoral bill, which has already been passed into law. Beatrice Kurutsi tells us more.
Besides the protection of civilians, property and national assets, security agencies play a critical role during elections. The already signed Electoral Act contains some rules and guidance for security agencies on how to operate during electoral process. It is against this backdrop that the Borno State Police Command held a workshop for its personnel and strategic stakeholders to enhance capacity and obligations in ensuring fair, peaceful and credible 2023 elections.
Security threats that are likely to be thrown up towards the 2023 election. So he felt that it would be necessary to bring his officers together and hear also from them. Apart from giving them lectures, we will also want a feedback from them. What has been their experiences in previous elections? What are the gaps? What are we supposed to do to fill those gaps?
We have to get prepared. Particularly, we have to look at our electoral value chain and see exactly what is on the chain so that we can address some of these issues. Particularly the issue of election security management is very, very important. Without it, in fact, it's very difficult for you to conduct any election. So that is why we are conducting this specific workshop to at least inform the security agencies and even the general public to know exactly what to expect during the course of the 2023 general elections.
Participants are expected to share knowledge impacted on them to other personnel across other formations in the state.
Northern youths under the aegis of Arewa Youth Assembly on Wednesday protested at the main gate of the National Assembly, demanding the sack of the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, retired, over rising insecurity in the country. The youth argued that the inability of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration to stem the tide of insecurity is not unconnected to the bad advisors he has on security, adding that under the watch of Monguno, terrorists have been emboldened. Addressing journalists during the protest, Publicity Secretary Aliyu Muhammad of the LYA maintained that Monguno had failed to bring the needed synergy among security forces fighting various criminalities, hence the reasons the security agents have face-offs. The youth leader vowed that the group would mobilize and hold a massive protest across the 19 northern states if the president refuses to sack the NSA by Friday. The coalition of northern groups from Nigeria's 19 northern states have attributed the recent rise in crime and violence in the region to poverty and the unending crisis in the education sector. They disclosed these after a two-day meeting held in Bauchi, as Adamu Imam reports.
The two-day meeting centered on 5 major issues that have escalated insecurity, crippled the northern Nigerian economy and educational viability, left thousands dead, and many others displaced.
Gangs of heavily armed criminals continue to terrorize northwest and central states with audacious regularity and unchecked impunity, stripping the government of its prerogative for the use of force and consequent loss of control of the nation's land borders, forests, highways, railways, and airways.
The gathering noted with concern the inevitability of an emerging humanitarian crisis that potentially threatened not only the North or Nigeria, but the entire sub-Saharan Africa. The student wing of the coalition accused the Nigerian Labour Union of inability to match words with action on the lingering ASUU strike.
So it is unfortunate when we realize that already the 2 weeks ultimatum given by the Labour Union has already ended, but with no any other action, even to come and address Nigerians on either there are positive developments or not, whether they are going for the strike or not, whether they have any negotiation going on with either the federal government or the ASUU or the other unions. The Labour Union decided to remain mute. We condemn their actions in totality. We are not happy with their actions in totality, and we strongly call on the leadership of the Labour Union to know that Nigerians are watching, and we are clearly watching with a special interest on the issue of ASUU strike.
I am heartbroken because our schools are closed and the government is doing nothing about it. It is very heartbreaking for the Nigerian student because the hope for the future is long gone. They said that education is the key, but I want to disappoint the citizens of this country that education does not even have a padlock no more in this country.
However, the groups resolved to urge the northern state governors to unite and demand urgent government explanation on what is inhibiting the Nigerian armed forces for effectively tackling the insurgency threat in the northeast, banditry and kidnappings in the northwest. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
The Kano State Court of Appeal has dismissed an appeal filed against a High Court judgment that ordered the retrial of blasphemous charges against Aminu Sharif Yahaya. Delivering judgment virtually on Wednesday, Justice Abubakar Muazu Lamido ruled that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria empowers states through their assemblies to make laws. He ruled that Nigeria's constitution recognized that there is freedom of religion but does not allow adoption of a state religion. The court affirmed that the Kano State Sharia Penal Code of 2000 does not contravene Nigeria's constitution. Aminu Sharif Yahaya, who was convicted and sentenced to death by a Sharia court in Kano in August 2020, had earlier asked the Kano High Court to quash the judgment. A Minna Chief Magistrate Court, Niger State, has on Wednesday transferred the rape case against a 48-year-old assistant head teacher of Central Primary School, Karabonde, in New Busa, Borgu local government area of Niger State, Usman Galadima, to New Busa Magistrate Court for fresh trial. Galadima is standing trial for allegedly raping 13 pupils of his school in August 2021. The prosecutor, Inspector Jibril Ahmed, told the court that the case, which was last heard in February this year, had to start afresh following the transfer of Magistrate Saadatu Gambo, who first heard the case but was transferred from Minna Magistrate Court to Magistrate Court Doko Luvan in that local government area. Permanent Secretary, Niger State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, Kaltum Dauda, comments on the case.
As you know, we already have a law in place. The VAP law, that is Violence Against People Prohibition Law, is in place, which has been signed by His Excellency and even gazetted. So at least the law is going to take its course. Since the case has been taken up by the government, is now a government case, even if the victims are not ready to go further, we are ready to go further. And as the committee is, the chair of the committee is Her Excellency. She's not going to leave any stone unturned to see that justice is served. And we are going to do whatever. We have lawyers that are pro bono, that do pro bono services for us, and we have other lawyers from Ministry of Justice. We have a gender desk office at Ministry of Justice, which is going to take over the case. So whatever it will take us to see that this case is concluded logically, we'll do our best.
Jigawa State government has ordered the closure of all schools across the state. The Commissioner for Education, Lawan Yusuf, who confirmed the development to newsmen in Dutse on Wednesday, cited security threat as reason behind the closure. Yusuf said the schools were closed on Wednesday morning after the state received intelligence report about possible attacks on schools across the country, particularly in border states. Personnel of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, the NSCDC, were seen patrolling schools in Dutse. Although schools in the state were scheduled to close on Friday after completing third-term examinations, students who were still taking examinations were told to go home, a development that caused apprehension among residents of Dutse, the Jigawa state capital. President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday swore in the newly appointed chairman of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMFC, Mohammed Bello Shehu. The new RMAFC chairman was administered on oath in the council chamber of the State House in Abuja just before the president presided over the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. After the meeting, Bello told State House correspondents that although the task ahead of him is daunting, he is certain that the commission will assist the Buhari-led administration to block leakages, generate more revenue for the federal government, and implement its constitutional responsibility. As one of the 14 constitutional commissions, the RMAFC chairman maintained that he will ensure that the commission's independence is upheld as enshrined in the Constitution. You're watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up after the break, why price of Gary remains high. Do stay with us.
Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NORA.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching News Update on Trust TV. A recap of our major stories. Former President Obasanjo and APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu meet behind closed doors. And appeal court upholds retrial order of Kano singer accused of blasphemy. And so other stories now. Fake and substandard products can be found in almost every category of goods, ranging from drugs, electrical and electronics appliances, and spare parts, among others. In this report, Kabir Lawal finds out how the substandard products menace in the country has crippled some business activities and caused producers to reduce the quality of their products. The report.
So this is what I have in my office. So with this, any form of substandard can be traced in this machine.
Substandard products are simply out of specification products. They are always below the regulatory standard set for making such products. A cross-section of dealers of both spare parts and electrical appliances have called on government and other stakeholders to sensitize the public, especially those in the rural communities, on which goods to buy and how to confirm their authenticity. Uche Nwosu, who sells electrical appliances, wants the government to tighten checks on imported goods at the ports before they are distributed in order to stem the steady influx of substandard tires, spare parts, and drugs in the country.
This side of the country, because of the porousness and also nonchalant attitude of those who are in the hem of their affairs, that allow anything to flow into the country. So that is where you talk about substandard and standard products. And I think the only way we can checkmate this issue of substandard is from the entry point, because sometimes they allow some of all these things to come into the market or enter into the market, and before you know it, people who are not, people who are ignorant of those substandard, you will see them buying it, and as a result of that, that is where you have some fire outbreak here and there. But in this market anyway, we have a measure that we put in place to checkmate some of all these substandard, and if we are culpable, we have our internal mechanism how we deal with those that are found guilty.
A spare part dealer, Ezekiel Ernest, is of the opinion that there is every chance a substandard product may not just bore a hole in one's pocket, but can also be dangerous physically.
We are dealing with quality products. Many of us here export from China direct, and we are giving the best products in Apo here. You know, like foot mats. Let's come chop foot mats. We identify original foot mats. It can last for you 4 to 5 years in your vehicle. But when you come to all these fake ones, before 1 to 6 months, you start breaking. Do you understand? Some protector.
He added that to understand what constitutes substandard products and find out how they turn out to be a menace to society, people need to appreciate the value of standards and important they are to the society. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Garri is arguably Nigeria's most patronized staple food and is popular with every class of the Nigerian population. Now, despite being consumed by almost all, not many are familiar with the process of converting cassava tubers to what is known and enjoyed as garri. In this report, Trust TV's Hamid Oyegbade highlights the process of making garri and the challenges facing garri producers as price soars in recent time. His report is presented from our studios.
Easy to prepare and cheap to buy. Garri is one of the staple foods in Nigeria that cuts across all tribes. It is the creamy, granular flour obtained by processing the starchy, tuberous roots of freshly harvested cassava. The Yoruba people of southwest region of Nigeria make eba from garri and eat with okra or egusi soup. Garri can be soaked in cold water and consumed with milk and sugar plus or minus roasted granules. Garri is predominantly a preoccupation of locals in villages and communities. A garri producer at Owodede in Osun State, Shakiru Akinola, explained the process of making garri from cassava.
The process of making garri is not long and not difficult. So the first thing to do is to go to farm and get cassava. After getting cassava, we bring it down to this garri processing industry here. So they will now peel the garri and the cassava. After peeling, they will wash the cassava to make it neat so that all the sand will come out from it. So after washing, they will take it down to the grinding machine. The grinding machine is to make the cassava grinded. After you grind it finish, you will pack inside the rice sack. After you pack inside the rice sack, you leave it for some days to allow the water to come out. After 3 or 4 days, you take the cassava down to jacking machine. You bring it out to sieve the cassava with this ashe. So after that, you put inside the fire to make it fry. After making fry, that is how you get your gari. After that, you can drink it gari, or you make with eba with it, or some other food that you can make gari with.
Another producer, Bojubola Mojere, says she makes gains sometimes and record losses also, depending on patronage by consumers. People should buy gari for personal consumption. I have plenty of gari in stock for sale. You too can buy gari from me after this interview. That's how you can help me. We need more patronage now because of the quantity in the store. The inflation has affected patronage. In the past, when we produced gari here, people would buy everything same day. But it is not so anymore. Most people are broke now and angry. May God help us. Despite the recent increase in price and seeming lull in patronage, many believe that with time, buyers and sellers will reach a compromise due to the importance of the staple food to Nigerians.
Traders in Jos, the capital of Plateau State, have expressed support for the government's decision. We'll go to our next story now. The Director General of the Bureau of Public Reforms, Dasuki Arabi, has reiterated the determination of the federal government to transform the public service to provide world-class services to the people. Arabi said this when he interacted with the Lagos State government delegation who were at the Bureau in Abuja to seek ways of strengthening the state's public service. The DG, who spoke virtually with the delegation, said the initiative was to ensure effectiveness in policy implementation, professionalism, integrity, excellence, and passion to secure sustainable national development. He also intimated the team on the reform strategies and how they operate.
A framework at the federal level where we have the president, the National Council of Reforms, the Steering Committee on Reforms, then the Bureau of Public Service Reforms as secretary to all these committees. Then we have what we call the Reform Coordination and Service Reform Coordination Department in BPSR that is supposed to work with directors of reforms in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. As a mode of work, we have been implementing what we call the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms, which has 4 pillars. Pillar 1 is driven by by Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Pillar 2 is manned by Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. Pillar 3, Public Financial Management, Budget and National Planning. Pillar 4 is driven by Office of Head of Civil Service of the Federation. And below them, we have Reform Coordination Department.
Let's go back now to the previous story I was trying to bring to you, and it says that traders in Jos, the capital of Plateau State, have expressed their support for the government's decision to rebuild the burnt Jos main market. Some of the traders who made this known in an interview with Trust Television in Jos decried calls by some individuals and groups to stop the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding MOU with the commercial bank to rebuild the market. The report.
The popular Jos Ultramodern Market, banned on February 12, 2002, has remained one of the most tragic occurrences to befall the state. The market got burned during the administration of the former Governor Joshua Darie and has been abandoned for almost 2 decades. However, soon after the state government entered into agreement with a commercial bank to rebuild the market, Some individuals and groups protested the government's decisions to rebuild the market on the grounds that majority of people of the state are not aware of the terms and conditions reached with the financier of the project. But traders in Jos have called on those against the rebuilding of the market to allow government to commence the project. Emeka Okaro, a trader in Abuja market, said it is better to allow the government to rebuild the market than to abandon it.
I fully supported the rebuilding of the market, and every trader also we want to also support that.
Chairman of Abuja Market, Adam Abdulwahab, on his part said he doesn't see anything wrong with government effort to rebuild the market, saying such efforts are long overdue.
All other governments that will come in will promise they will rebuild it, but nothing has this. If not, this government now want to embark on this, and so we are encouraging them to go ahead and just to enlighten people that are not on aside the financial benefit or economic benefit of that kind of project. So that's my own take.
Christiana Onyiloye, a trader selling foodstuff around Terminus Roundabout, also said the building of the market is for the benefit of Plateau citizens, as it will create job opportunities for the teeming people in the state.
I wish the government to bring it, because everybody, even the government, the masses, it will be valuable for everybody, not only the marketers. There are some people out there, they get jobs inside.
Many are hopeful that if the government succeeds in building the market, it will provide more revenue for the development of the state. From Jos, Ado Musa reporting for Trust TV.
On the forensic explosions and fires ripped through at least 17 locations in southern Thailand on Wednesday, authorities said in what appeared to be multiple coordinated attacks that injured 7 people. The bombings and arson attacks happened after midnight and targeted convenience stores and a gas station across 3 provinces, likely injuring at least 7, according to police and military statements. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack so far. Provinces in southern Thailand along the border with Malaysia have seen a decade-long low-level insurgency in which the Thai government has battled shadowy groups seeking independence for the predominantly Muslim provinces of Pattani, Yala, Narathiwat, and parts of Songkhla. And that's about the size of the bulletin this hour. Before we go, let's remind you that you can connect with us on all our social media platforms. I am Nten Ekpang. Many thanks for watching. Bye-bye.